Okay, I'm going to help you cut through some of the noise today. If you're a woman over 40 and you've been doing everything right, you've been counting your calories, working out, and the scale won't budge, then this video's for you. You see, the rules that we grew up with just don't work anymore in midlife. So if you're ready to drop 20 pounds in the next 60 days, then stick with me because I'm going to be counting down from the five most important things you could be focusing on to drop that weight quickly. And number one at the end is the one that makes everything click. So a tiny bit of background about me. When I was 52, I was in the middle of full-blown menopause. I was a fitness model back then, a gym owner and an athlete. In fact, my posters were on the walls of Lululemon stores. I was able to stay lean using the principles I'm about to teach you. Then COVID came around and I gained weight like a lot of other people out there. And I'm using those same principles I used when I was 52, I'm 63 now, to get my body back to where I want it to be. And I'm here on this channel teaching those exact same things to you. So about a month ago, I shared a video on this channel about how you can lose 30 pounds by the end of the year. The tips I shared in that video are long game. Those are the things that you want to start incorporating as habits into your life. I'll link that video at the end of this video so you can check it out. But this video is 5 things that people rarely talk about, and they're your short game things that you can start seeing results really quickly. There are 5 new equally important shifts that you can start using today to get your metabolism revved up and start losing that fat. Tip number 5, I call it the paleo zone. You see, back when I was a fitness model and I owned my CrossFit gym, I followed a diet protocol developed by Dr. Barry Sears way back in the 1990s. His whole philosophy was around controlling an insulin response in our body, and it made sense to me. I started following the advice in the book he read called Enter the Zone and started to see results pretty quickly. There was no weighing or measuring food. In fact, I actually used a diagram of a hand to measure my food. I'll drop that diagram in the description of this video so you can see it for yourself. You see, back then, his protocol was revolutionary. It was all about controlling insulin response to the food you were eating. Insulin is actually a storage hormone. So when our insulin is constantly elevated, we are constantly in fat storage mode. The zone diet actually balances your food choices at every single meal, including snacks. It's the 40-30-30 method. 40% carbohydrates, 30% protein, and 30% fat on every single plate of food you eat. This balance helps control our insulin response and therefore helps control the fat we're storing. And when midlife women do this, it's magical because not only does it help with that insulin response, it also helps with inflammation, one of the biggest problems that midlife women experience. You see, when your insulin is nice and stable, you don't experience those mid-afternoon cravings for sugar. You don't crash after you eat the sugar, and your body will actually start using stored fat as fuel. And that's what we want. Shortly after I started following the zone diet, I opened my CrossFit gym. Back then, that was in 2008. CrossFit was a big proponent of what's called the paleo diet or the Paleolithic diet or the caveman diet. And it really, when you peel all the layers away, it's a way of eating just whole foods. You eat meat, vegetables, some fruit, nuts, seeds, no starch, no sugar. That means I was cutting out bread, pasta, anything that had sugar in it, and dairy. Because I was a CrossFit gym owner, I felt like I had to follow the CrossFit ways, and eating whole foods just made sense to me. But I thought, what if I combined those food choices into the zone diet way of eating that Dr. Barry Sears had developed. Well, when I did this, magical things started happening. Fat started peeling off my body. I got so lean, I had a six pack. And that was when I showed up in fitness magazines like Sweat Equity, on the walls of Lululemon stores. And never in my wildest dreams in my 50s did I ever believe that could ever happen. It wasn't intentional. I wasn't out there trying to get a bodybuilder's body. But what happened because of the food I was eating and the strength training I was doing, my body transformed. And that was during menopause. It's those same principles that I am using today to shed the fat that I gained when the world shut down and I just kept eating after. And it's coming off. I did a video about my 4-week results on my fat shedding mission. Had some great results. So make sure you check that one out. It's in the description. So I coined the phrase back then, paleo zone. And what did it look like? Well, instead of eating carbs like pasta, that was okay in Dr. Barry Sears' book from back in the 90s, I substituted the pasta for zucchini noodles. And instead of eating a hamburger bun with my burger, I substituted lettuce leaves as my carbohydrate. And instead of using dairy like cream in my coffee, I substituted grass-fed butter. Oh my gosh, it's delicious. You see, every meal I had followed that 40-30-30 plan using my hand to measure it. Those whole foods worked with my hormones in midlife and not against them. So when you use the principles behind the zone diet with the food choices, whole food choices from the Paleolithic diet, what happens is you manage your insulin response, you reduce inflammation, and you start burning fat on autopilot. That's why I teach it today to my coaching clients. It's simple, it's sustainable, and it works. Now you may ask, Ruth, what about weighing and measuring? Because I talk about that as well. There are times when people need to weigh and measure their food, even if for a short time, because sometimes people's palms are not as big as their eyes are. All right, let's move on. Tip number 4. This tip is something that is often overlooked by women, and it's overlooked by a lot of the people out there preaching calorie counting and fat loss and so on. And that tip is fiber first, even on a relatively lower carbohydrate diet. You see, a lot of midlife women, they focus on low carb to start burning fat, and it can work. But one of the things they miss when they do that is getting enough fiber in their diets. You see, when fiber drops, metabolism slows, cravings increase, and digestion stalls. You see, you don't need more carbs to get more fiber, you just need better carbs. Fiber actually slows digestion down, it will balance your blood sugar naturally and start increasing fat burning. It also helps feed your gut bacteria, and that helps reduce inflammation. So take a look at the fiber in each of these relatively low carb foods. So as you can see, you can absolutely eat low carb and still get 25 to 30 grams of fiber a day. That's the metabolic sweet spot after 40 for midlife women. When you combine that with a paleo-style eating pattern, your hormones stay balanced, digestion improves, and cravings drop dramatically. And here comes the weird part. This is the part where I ask you to subscribe and hit the bell button. It keeps me motivated to help more and more people with real tips, real strategies that work for midlife women. I'd love to see you in the community. And before we move on, I want to let you know I've dropped my free high protein, low glycemic food guide in the description below. You can grab it there. Okay, let's keep moving on. Tip number 3, the mindset method. Now let's talk about what makes all of these things work. Because if your mind is telling you not to do them, If you're fighting with your self-doubt or your self-image, or you're telling yourself you can't do this, then you won't. So mindset is a huge piece of getting lean in midlife. Fat loss after 40 isn't just about the scale, it's about your beliefs. You see, you can have the perfect plan, the best meal plan, the best workout plan, but if your head tells you that you always fall off, then your actions will make that happen. That's why in my coaching program, one of the biggest things we do is make sure we rewrite that story. If you have negative self-image, if you have beliefs that are holding you back, we tackle those head on and we shift them so that you actually follow the actions of the plan and get the results you ultimately were looking for. That's why I called my program the Lean Body Operating System, because it's much more than a diet and exercise program. It involves getting into your self-beliefs. Those things are the actions. But on top of that, we retrain your brain into believing that you already are that fit, lean, powerful, confident woman. And that's what makes the difference. So here's my question of the day. Which part of your midlife has been the most challenging? Drop it in the comments. I read all of the comments and answer them. I'm curious. Okay, we're nearing the end of the countdown. Tip number 2 is sleep and manage your cortisol. Let's talk about that for a second. In midlife, sometimes we don't need more workouts. We need more recovery. All too often, I see midlife women thinking that if they work out more, they work out harder, they wear themselves out, they'll get better results. And that can actually undo all the work that they've done. When we work too hard and stress our bodies too much, we raise our cortisol. When our cortisol is high, that's a bad recipe for fat storage. So getting enough sleep, getting enough rest, and respecting your recovery time is critical for midlife women who want to get lean. You see, sometimes the best workout move is a de-stressor. Go for a long walk in the woods. Do some yoga. Take a sauna. Get a good night's sleep. And that will do wonders for your mental health, your stress level, your cortisol levels, and your fat loss efforts. All right. You've stuck with me this long. Congratulations, you're committed to making a change. Let's get into point number 1. And here it is. It's the thing that will make everything click. Until you get your insulin under control, your body, no matter how hard you work out, no matter how perfect your diet is, your body can't access stored fat. This is exactly why the paleo zone method of eating that I did way back in my gym owner days and am doing now works for midlife women. It balances protein, carbs, and fat in every single meal so that your insulin stays steady and you start accessing and burning fat. So how do we start the ball rolling? First off, stop grazing all day. Every time you grab food, every time you grab a snack, get your insulin going up. Even if it's a low glycemic food, you're still going to experience some kind of insulin response. Number 2, space your meals at least 4 hours apart. Eat a substantial meal each time, 40, 30, 30 every single time. Avoid the snacking in between, and you'll start giving that insulin response a rest in between meals. Anchor every single meal with protein and some fiber, those good fibers I mentioned. Ditch all the refined carbs, all the sugary snacks, all of the junk. Take a look at what it means to eat a paleo diet. One of the things I used to do with my gym members and now do with my clients is we slowly transition into paleo. It's tough to do all at once if you're not already there. But as we start removing things one by one, the transition becomes easy. And the more we remove, the easier it becomes because people start seeing results quickly and start feeling better. They feel more energy, they feel more vibrant. Start by taking either bread or pasta out of the equation and then move on to something else. Maybe the next thing to go is sugar, but start. When you start managing that insulin response through the methods that I've described, fat loss becomes effortless. It just happens automatically. I think back to when I was a fitness model using this approach. It wasn't hard. I wasn't counting every single calorie every day, stressing over the scale. My body transformed naturally because of the way I was eating, and I was doing strength training. So don't forget, I've dropped my high protein, low glycemic food guide and meal plan in the description below. Make sure you grab that. I've also linked my video, Lose 30 Pounds by the End of the Year. It has some other great tips on things you can focus on. It's a long game, but those habits will change your body for good. So there's no more yo-yo dieting and no more starting and stopping. You see, midlife isn't the end. It's the comeback stage. It's when we're wise. It's when we can make good decisions. And it's when we can really enjoy our lives. Let's make these next 60 days the start of yours.